Quit your yapping over there. Who's playing with this microphone? This is really weird. Hey, Sir Jon with you. Pint of Comics, episode 124. It's a hot mic. Hot mic.
Oh, hello. I can't hear myself. Where's my volume?
It's right there. It says, yeah,
This
right
one?
next to your mic. Your
What, this right here?
Yeah, right there.
Hello, hello. Oh, there I am.
There we go.
There I
That's
Hi.
level A radio right here with Pint of Comics.
Keep my seat warm, Mitch. I am never a dull moment. I feel very bad right now because the one and only Johnny Ganache is just throwing himself on a landmine and letting me take his spot tonight.
You know what I'll do? I'll go home and edit the podcast version of Pint of Comics.
Ah,
So Pint of Comics
you know
will
what you
be
could do?
more
You
There's a
we could-
podcast of Pint of Comics?
It is.
We
You
could
can find it
switch.
on Apple, all that good stuff.
You could run GamerCon.
You want me to
You want to do that? You're in charge, buddy.
You're not gonna give me Turficon, are you?
Huh?
You're not gonna give me
I'll never
Turficon.
give you Turficon. No.
So for those new listeners out there that sound like you just walked into somebody's living room, this is Pint of Comics, WESU 88.1 on your FM dial.
Mr. Professional over
All
here.
the way to the left.
No, I'm on your right.
No, I know.
Oh, you mean on the dial?
on the dial.
Oh, this is at the
Yeah.
very end? Are we in UHF territory?
UHF, yeah. And if you're listening on your interwebs, WESUFM.org is your code to excellence.
Is it? Is
Well,
it really?
well, maybe not tonight.
No. Well,
Johnny Ganache has escaped
has left the building like Elvis. He did. He escaped.
his one appearance here in the last 4
I know.
four
I
weeks
came up
and-
here on the pretenses that it would be a full pint of comics
Yeah,
tonight.
well, we got a quarter pint tonight.
Once again, it's down to
Yeah, you and
a
me.
trickle.
You and me both. King of the Nerds, Mitch Hallock. How
That's
you
right.
doing?
Hey, man. How are you, John? Haven't seen you in a couple months.
Yeah, I know. What's going on?
Last time I saw you was at the CT Horror Fest.
Yes, CT Horror Fest.
Yes.
A fine experience.
Not to be confused what's going on in the room right in front of us.
Definitely not.
Because it is kind of weird staring at two people as we're doing this show.
I
and there's two
feel like
people
we should
looking.
have like one of those darkening windows,
Yes.
faded out.
Paint the picture for the listeners at home since this is an audio theater.
So, as usual with Pint of Comics, we usually take up two studios, Studio
Yes.
A and Studio B,
Yes.
to fill out your audio airwaves. And we've got a pair of individuals in Studio B that have been in there for the past 2+ hours, according to the logbook. So, I don't know what's going on.
See, I would be sitting in Studio B, and John and Sir Jon would be here in Studio A,
Yeah,
piloting the ship, and I would just be on board as a guest. But
piloting, yes.
now, he put it on autopilot. He left.
I'm out.
I'm here, and now you and I are staring blankly at these two young ladies on the next room, who are working on their own radio show, I think,
Most likely.
or just
I don't know.
making obscene phone calls.
Sundays are very strange
in Middletown.
Well, yes, in Middletown, but also in the station itself.
Yeah.
We get quite the eclectic crew. I
Wow.
mean, prior to this was Billy Johnstone. In
An
the,
automated Billy Johnson.
Automated,
like
yeah.
Robo
Billy
Johnson.
Billy messaged me earlier, and he's on his 4th flight in 5 days.
Where's he?
He's flying
Mars?
around the middle of the country.
Oh, that's nothing. My wife is boarding a plane as we speak soon to England, the land of the Ings.
Is she going to join the Brexit community?
No, she's going to be in London and then Warwick. And then back to London. Yes. She lives the life. She's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., you see.
Oh,
So
I
she gets
see.
to go many places that I can only dream of. Like, she goes to India, she goes to South Africa, she goes to Prague. I go to Jersey and Marlborough, Massachusetts for conventions. And
Are you going to Total Con next year? Where I will
where's
be?
that?
Marlborough, Massachusetts.
Was that in Marlborough? Oh,
Yeah.
Marlborough's it's a magical place.
Well, it's all hotels and
It's named after a pack of cigarettes.
yes, pretty much. I've seen it spelled like 3 different ways.
I have too. It's with it's the
kinda funny.
ORO, isn't it?
Oh,
Or is it ORUGH?
well, both.
It's the
I've seen both.
Is it the same place?
I believe so. Yes.
Marlborough
'Cause
and like borough.
Your GPS will bring you to the same
Really?
place.
Damn it all. Well, you seem to be very happy on Veterans Day Eve.
Yes, Veterans Day Eve, where I guess we could talk about.
I'm
veterans.
segueing, John. That's a little professional term there.
I know.
To
La-
tonight's topic.
Well, last year we had a vet on with us.
Did you know?
Yes, we did.
One that takes care of pets? Oh, you mean a veteran?
A pet vet?
I thought you meant
A veterinarian?
veterinarian. yes.
Veterinarian hospital.
Hello. All creatures great and small.
But no, No, it is our military veterans, and we will be discussing
Yes. Let's
some of
make
the best known.
Some of the more confusion that happens around Veterans Day is there's Memorial Day, which is to honor those soldiers who have given their life in protection of the country in
Correct.
various wars and all these other things. But Veterans Day is to anybody who has served this great nation of ours in the armed services at one point of their life. I think a lot of people confuse the two.
I think they do too.
Yeah, they're, let's remember all those veterans tomorrow. It's like, well, yeah, but that's not the ones who died. Those are the ones who actually served. Memorial Day, hence the name memorial, as in memory,
Yes.
is to memorize.
I think sometimes the education system is a little lacking. In
It's a
certain
little
places.
wonky. Yeah, it's a little bit.
Do you
Hence the multiple spellings of Marlboro.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you remember cursive?
Oh God, yeah. I used to have to practice my C's because they say I used to make like a pig's tail at the top. The nuns hated me. The nun. I went to Catholic school for 12 years.
Ooh.
Oh, I had nuns teaching me.
That explains a lot.
No, it does. Then I went to an all-boys Catholic school for high school, 4 years. Nothing like prepubescent boys, and then pubescent boys, and how the stench just would curl your nose hair.
Ooh.
Yeah, and there's no women around, so nobody was deciding to doll themselves up or get cleaned up, because who are you trying to impress? The sweaty guy next to you? No.
So now that you bring up sweaty feet, and
It's going into the military. type
Sure,
thing.
sure.
Yeah, segue.
since there was all kinds of bouts of trench foot,
Yeah, there we go. That's a
that sort
good
of
one.
thing.
Yeah, I like that.
I have to
Some of
ask
the rock.
you, since we were discussing this earlier,
Yeah.
as far as comic book or comic strip or artists or
Yeah.
creator veterans that we know of,
Yes.
do we know any modern veterans?
I know some personally. There's Jim Starlin.
No, I mean
Air Force.
even younger, the younger set.
Yeah, Billy Tucci. How young? Well, Billy's my age, so
Yeah, I know. We
50s,
have to
we're
remember
old.
how
I'm 50.
29 we are, but
Yeah, younger than that.
yeah, these
Huh.
I don't know. I
I'm
know
trying
the
to think. I'm
everyone's
sure.
discussing the or arguing about Gen X and Boomers.
Like, is
and
anybody
all
in the
that.
service now? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I can't remember anybody that had come out of the service recently that's gone into
Comics?
our fandom based stuff.
Well, not in comic book. I know there's several actors. I mean, there's Adam Driver from the
What was he in?
Star Wars. He was in Marine Corps.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's United States
Does that
Marine.
explain his nose?
He's got some weird things going on there, but no, I'm sure he wasn't a subject of military testing. But no, he was in the Marine Corps. He's kind of genre related.
Sure.
What's his name? Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
And,
Kylo Ren, the most emo.
of all the Sith Lords, or whatever he is. No, I can't
the
think of
fake Sith Lords.
can't think of anybody else.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I was
You know what's
considering
weird?
that.
I just got to point this out. When you were growing up, where'd you grow up?
Where?
Yeah, like the general location.
You're looking at it.
Oh, right here.
Well, not Middletown so much, but
Around
over the other side of the
Connecticut.
river. Yeah.
Portland area.
Central Connecticut.
East
yeah.
Hampton area.
Well, not that bad.
Okay. I know people there. That's Belltown, buddy. No, I was just saying, do you remember growing up so much emphasis on military things as we have now? I think that shifted.
As far as
Like, I don't remember ever seeing any. Well, I don't think there was major wars going on in the 70s. Not obviously Vietnam was over, like
I
73.
think we were still suffering from the after effects of Vietnam, which is
So maybe there
why-
wasn't that much patriotism going on because it wasn't
Feels
blatant.
like
Like, I never heard anybody say thank you for your service until like
No,
maybe
that's true.
after 9/11. Maybe I think that's when that came up.
I started to see it more after the Gulf War.
Yeah, okay. Which Gulf War? Part one?
Yeah,
The
first one.
The 2-month one, the 30-day one. That was 1991. Remember?
Was that only 30 days?
It was a short one.
Was it really?
And then they were like gave up, and then
Well,
there was
that's
then there was the sequel.
because you had the whole coalition. There was like 92 countries.
yeah,
like,
Operation
fighting
Desert
Iraq.
Storm.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Wow.
I worked for the Hartford Courant at the time, and we were taking tabs as to how many troops were being sent over from Qatar
Yeah.
and
No.
Bangladesh.
No, what I was getting at is I don't remember growing up such a heavy patriotism. I mean, we had,
True,
1976, it was a bicentennial, a lot of red, white, and blue.
Yep.
But I don't remember seeing folks in their their military outfits. Maybe you're right, because maybe we were post Vietnam and people weren't. They were trying to forget it. They were trying to say, look, you know what, that was a rough time, and it's not a hey flag waving thing.
Right. Come to think of it, we did
In
a
the
podcast.
80s?
We did a podcast recently about the first Rambo movie, First Blood.
Yeah.
Where that one deals with Vietnam vets coming back,
Right.
and
And how they were treated
like
yeah.
dirt.
Oh God, yeah.
And you start thinking about it, that was in 1980,
Yeah, 81,
81 when it
yeah.
came out. So yeah,
That's
there
what I'm
was a-
saying.
there
I
was a
remember
lot of-
movies like Coming Home,
Yeah,
which was John Voight, and he was a wounded soldier from there. They had Deer Hunter.
Deer Hunter was
There was
big
a
thing, yeah.
lot of Apocalypse Now, but I'm
Yeah.
saying it was not like yay,
Right, it was a
fire
whole
the flags,
different-
red, white, and blue. Yeah,
It's very different.
Yeah,
Very
fire the
different.
fireworks. I mean,
Yeah.
but and then that shifted. Even with Reagan,
Yeah,
you had that
Well,
heavy
the whole,
patriotism, like, hey, we're going to defeat the Russians and stuff. But
and that was Grenada and
then Rambo 2, if you want to go towards
Wow.
movies, that
No.
became suddenly the rallying cry. Let's get the Ruskies. And then we had Red Dawn. Remember that with the
Yeah.
Russians? So there was a lot of emphasis on
Wolverines.
yeah, but it was all this like, let's get the Russians type of thing. So, but again, I don't think this like now. Every night you see on the news somebody coming home,
Yeah.
like a soldier coming.
Well,
back
it's very
from the
different now. Yeah,
service.
I think there was a shift at one point during the 90s, which really carried over after
Yeah.
9/11. So,
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah.
it's just a different. I don't remember ever hearing about people going off to the service. I don't remember growing up. I remember my mom crying when I was a little kid. I have vague early memories of like the show the airplane landing, and before you used to get off the plane onto the tarmac. That's how old I am. But you didn't go through these like gates and stuff at the airport. They'd wheel up this this stairs and
you'd
you'd
come
walk
right
down
out, yeah.
right onto the hard top, the black top, and you'd walk into the airport. But I remember the soldiers coming home, and she was just watching the news, and she'd be crying because they have the wives waiting for them, and they haven't seen their brothers or their husbands or their fathers, and for years. But yeah, none of that. But now it's a different world. We live in a place now where every day, everywhere I go, I see the little flag. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying I don't remember this being such a predominant, like you showed your patriotism and stuff.
yeah, and it's good for the soldiers, I think.
It is good for absolutely. I mean, you're going to give up your hopefully not your life, but your time and help the country, and that's fantastic.
Yeah,
But
and one would hope the country would
And-
support you after the
and
fact.
that's what I'm saying. It's nice that the country acknowledges that. And I just, like I said, I don't remember growing up. My kids have always grown up with this, heavy patriotism going on because they grew up right after 2001.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's neither here nor. But going back to your initial question there,
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of young artists or writers in comic books that actually did go into the service.
all the people that we're going to mention
Are all way over than 50
Vietnam at the earliest,
at the earliest. Yeah.
and then you go back. Well, I don't think we got anybody from World War One, but we certainly have.
No, not anymore. No, but you had your World War II. You had
Yeah.
everybody was in that.
Yeah,
Kirby,
everybody.
Stan Lee.
Oh, I got a list a mile long here.
Yeah.
People were-
And then the Korean War. I was talking to John Romita Sr. He was just about to ship out to the Korean War when it ended, but he was in the Army
Yeah.
because the draft was still in. My dad was in the Marines. He got drafted and stuff. That didn't end until, when did the draft end? The 70s.
70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even as a kid growing up, I thought I'd have to go. I was like, oh, I guess when you're 18, you got to go to the service.
Did you fill out that selective service
Yes, I
card?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did it right away.
Did on my 18th birthday.
Really?
You didn't, did you?
I waited and waited until they came hounding the door. They sent like
Did
letter
they
after
really?
letter. Yeah.
No, see, my dad was in the Marines. My grandfathers were in World War II. My uncles were in World War II. We weren't going to... He didn't get away with that at my house. He was just like, hey,
Well-
buddy. Even when my sons turned 18, I said, hey, you got to go sign up for the selective service,
Yeah.
so they know. My wife's like, what are you doing? I said, hey, man, something happens. She was like,
I
really?
was a rebellious kid. So,
Yeah.
I didn't have a mohawk or anything, but
No. I just never thought you had a choice. It was like, that's it. That's just the way.
yeah.
Not like I'm getting Starship Troopers, like you have to be a citizen, you have to serve. I'm not doing, I'm not going that far science fiction. Like, what is it to be a citizen? To serve,
You gotta love that though.
right? That was heavy handed. But that
Yeah, a little bit.
but that, if you watch that movie, that's a whole allegory to
Oh sure.
Nazis.
Sure.
That's
The
like
whole thing. Well, I mean, just watch the whole
propaganda
movie.
stuff. Yeah. The whole movie.
It's dark satire. And I
Yeah.
know I read an interview. I think, Verhoeven did that, right? Paul Verhoeven.
Paul Verhoeven directed, but
And he
it
was
was
mad-
based on
Yeah, it's
was it
based on
Heinlein?
Highland.
Yeah.
But Verhoeven was mad because people started looking at it as a satire of things that were going on. He
Here nowadays?
No, what was being of overall plot devices that were going on at the time. I mean, it was he was mad because people looked at it as a satire of humanity and politics at the time the movie was being made.
Huh.
And I look at it as a satire. I really do.
I do. I thought it was making fun of a lot of things.
But
going on.
he said
Yeah.
it was straight up. And I'm like,
It was supposed to be taken seriously?
That's what he says.
I never thought that. I always
Yeah.
thought it was like a World War II propaganda movie.
Yeah,
like-
I mean, there's allegories to World War II.
Yeah.
And,
What was
and,
the town they blew up? That was like the big.
Buenos Aires. Wasn't
Buenos
it?
Aires. I'm from Rio.
Or Rio. Yeah,
Rio.
was it Rio?
Or something like that, because that would be like, this is for Rio. Or,
Yeah.
you know, Johnny Bravo. Was Johnny Bravo? Johnny Rio?
Johnny Rio.
Johnny
don't
something, but it was that was the
I-
thing. It's like, where you from? I'm from Brazil, Sao Paulo. or
All I
something.
remember is Denise Richards.
Damn
and
right.
her-
That's what I was
and
thinking
her
too.
wooden acting. So
I didn't notice anything above her neck,
well,
but that's
nobody
another story. Anyway, Denise Richards
did. Yeah.
and Doogie Howser
Yeah.
was like a kind of
And
SS
Watching
psychic.
watching his
guy.
eyes get darker and darker.
Yeah,
as the
yeah. And
movie
he
progressed.
shows up in this outfit at the end. I could sense them, and they're afraid. Yay! Did you ever see the sequels to that?
No.
There was a real low budget sequel. Looks like they filmed it in someone's basement.
Oh.
And then they did a third one, which they actually spent money on, and they brought back the dude, Casper Van Dien. He came back
Whoa.
for it, and that was actually pretty good. That was the third
Probably
one.
because he was
Johnny Rico.
He was. Yeah, that's it.
Johnny Rico.
Because he was living in a shack at the
He's
time.
from
I'm
Buenos
sure.
Aires. It's all
That's
coming back
right.
to me now. And you know who else is very good in
We're
that
clunking
movie?
this one out.
No, man. You know who's in that? Is my favorite, Clancy Brown. He was the drill sergeant.
Clancy was good. Michael Ironside.
Michael Ironside.
That's-
Oh, yeah, with
that
that
guy's
voice.
awesome.
And then you had Buddy Holly's kid, the guy that played him in the movie.
Buddy.
No, he was in a car accident. Busey. Jake Busey.
Jake Busey.
That's right.
Jake Busey, the one that never gets hit, never gets
No.
wounded.
No.
And he's like a total idiot.
Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
buck private.
Yeah, he's got the big teeth.
Yeah. And he's there the whole time. He's
Yeah.
one of the. He's
I
the
remember
survivor.
that one line though when the guy shows up to register for the service, and he's like, more meat for the meat grinder,
Yeah.
and he's got like no leg or no
Yeah.
arm or something. He's like, I served.
Ugh.
That was a real disturbing movie.
It is. I didn't like it the first time I saw it, and the more I watched it, the more I thought it was.
I didn't like the
It's silly.
brain sucker things at the end
It
when
was
they were
pretty
like,
gruesome.
yeah, when that thing came out and
Yeah.
just like ate the brains out of. Was it Denise Richards?
It was her.
The other
The
girl
other
that played
guy.
on. No, it was the guy Alexander. I
Yes,
believe his name was.
Yeah.
And the thing just went in there and ate his brain. It's kind
Yeah.
of
And
nasty.
left a big hole in there.
Had great effects though at the
Sure.
time. The big
Yeah.
bugs.
The bugs were.
Yeah. And
that's
I
pretty
never
cool.
understood they were firing like these fireball
I
things
guess it's
from
some kind of
across the
plasma,
galaxy. And it was
yeah.
blowing up ships and
Just melt you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's gruesome.
And the young lady that played Batgirl on Meyer, Dina Meyer.
Dina Meyer. Yeah.
Dina Meyer was in that movie.
Yeah, she
Birds
looked
of
great as
Prey.
Batgirl.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was in the full Oracle. Barbara Gordon.
Yeah.
She was in the
It was,
wheelchair.
it was not a very good show.
No,
No.
but they
But
tried.
she was good.
She was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You watch
What
it.
this has to do with Veterans Day?
I
is
don't know.
We're all.
know.
I knew it. I even said when I posted. I said, if you're listening tonight, we're going to go so far off the rails, and here we are at 10 of 7, and we're long off the tracks.
That's how we are on Binder Comics. We meander
Hell,
around.
the co-host of the show was even plugged off the show at the last second.
Yeah.
This is from the jaws of death, I tell you.
He didn't want a tag team.
Ride the 600. I asked him. He said, "Do you want to just do it?" Like,
He's. You know what it is, because we had 3 people stuffed in here once
oh yeah, it does.
on
It's
2
like
mics, and it turns into a hot box.
no, I was gonna say it's like the Apollo mission. We're like all going into the moon, and there's 3 of us, and don't move, don't light a match.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It was bad.
Are you recording this?
No.
Oh, good.
No, I don't want to. I just want to see what time it was.
All right, let's
Even
put
though
it
there's
this way.
6 clocks everywhere.
Yeah, well, they're all off.
Am I
but
recording this?
just use it.
Aren't you recording this?
Yeah, eventually.
It's going out on the air, isn't
Yeah, then whatever.
it? Isn't it?
This is top-notch entertainment.
Oh
for
no, we
corporate.
could go. You want to go heavy? You want to go into like the service? You want to know how Jack Kirby was affected by World War II? He was in the serious battles. I think he was in
Sure.
the Battle of the Bulge, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think I've heard that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
Well, it's
you know,
not like Stan Lee who was making the
Stan Lee
the
was
VD
making
movies.
propaganda VD movies in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Somebody had to do it. But
Sure.
Stan was working in with Theodore Geisel, a.k.a. Dr. Seuss,
Yep.
Mickey Spillane, and Frank Capra. They were all part of the big propaganda
Yeah.
machine for the U.S. Army.
Well, somebody had to do it.
You got to get people going.
Sure.
They
At
didn't
least
have
he
the
wasn't in this-
internet
no,
back
like-
then. They had this, people believed what they saw.
So, do you have a particular favorite other than Kirby and Lee that were
In World
veterans?
War II. Let's see, there was Joe Kubert. Oh, my favorite,
Yeah.
Will Eisner.
Will Eisner, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
All these guys, I mean, they were like, what, 20-something? They just left their jobs. And
How about Sam Glanzman?
who?
Sam Glanzman.
Tell me about Sam Glanzman.
Sam Glanzman, who would write autobiographical stories based on his naval service on the USS Stevens,
I did not know that.
and they've all been collected.
Oh, and you met this person, or you know?
Sam, no, he passed away about 2 years ago, I think.
Oh, okay.
But he was 90 some odd years, and he was
Who
still
wrote,
growing.
Who wrote the book? He was
He
doing
did.
it.
He
Oh,
wrote
really?
and drew them. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, the USS Stevens stories were, they appeared all over the place. They appeared in Charlton Comics, they appeared in DC Comics. Marvel did a 2-volume collection
Really?
of them in the 80s.
Were they adventure stories, or just pretty
No,
much
it's-
like not
it's
like
stories-
Sergeant Fury?
No,
Or,
it's stories of him serving on the Stevens in World War II.
in what capacity?
He was a naval officer.
I mean, did he
Or
have
not
some
an officer.
adventures, or was it like KP duty?
Oh, it's everything. So it's
Cleaning
like
potatoes.
it's just yes, all of that.
That doesn't sound riveting. This
You
is-
have to read them. They're good.
Well, some of those potatoes could be pretty rough.
It's pretty brutal.
Those
some of the
Boise,
things.
Idaho.
He was it was a destroyer. So
So he saw combat.
all through the Pacific. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
It's some pretty harrowing stuff he saw.
Now, was he a comic book guy before the service or afterwards? He got into it.
Um,
Did you work on any other books, or this? Is
Oh
just
yeah,
about
yeah.
him?
He did tons of things. He did a lot of
Oh,
war
yeah?
books for DC. He was working up through the 90s.
Really?
Yeah.
I probably saw it. Didn't even
He
notice. it.
did a lot of stuff with
Like Sergeant Rock.
Tim Truman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did some Sergeant Rock
Who was
stuff.
at Terrificon this year? Tim Truman.
Tim
And we'll be
Truman, yeah.
back next year, along with John Ostrand.
Who's the Lansdale?
Joe Lansdale, yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
worked with Joe Lansdale
John
and
Lansdale.
Truman. It's Joe Lansdale,
Joe-
yeah,
yeah, okay.
the writer, the horror writer. But
100 Bullets? Lansdale?
100 Bullets, no.
Or
100
Stray
Bullets is
Bullets?
Azzarello, isn't it?
No, it's, I'm sorry. What, Stray Bullets?
Stray Bullets is David Latham.
Okay. Keep going. I could have swore Lansdale did some kind of like,
Lansdale did some horror books,
oh.
but
Hmm.
he's mostly a novelist,
No, I know, but I swear he did something else.
probably.
It'll
He
come
did
to
some
me.
Vertigo stuff, so.
Yeah.
But, well,
I digress.
he
Sorry.
did Jonah Hex.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, it was coming. I'm like, wait, I know this name somehow.
Jonah, it was
Was
Jonah
it that
Hex.
one with Tim Truman when they do the circus? That weird traveling circus of circus freaks
Probably.
and the Jonah Hex?
Yeah, there were 3 Jonah Hex stories that Lansdale wrote.
Right,
with
right.
Truman
That was
and-
one of them. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they got sued by the
Yes, because the
Two Gun
cover.
Mojo.
Right. Looked like an album cover.
Oh no, you didn't hear about it. So there were 2 characters in one of the. Oh God, we're getting way off track.
All right,
here.
that's fine. But
So,
I wanted
so there were 2 characters in one of the Jonah Hex series that Lansdale wrote.
Yeah.
Where they were basically
Oh, the
supposed
Winters.
to be the
Edgar
Winter brothers.
Yes,
yeah.
I know.
And Johnny and Edgar Winter sued DC.
Edgar Winter lived across the street from Jerry Ordway in
Oh,
Easton,
really?
Connecticut. Yeah, had a house there.
I didn't know that.
And I worked as an usher at the other Edgar Winter, the albino guitar
Yeah.
player. Yes, I worked as an usher when he played New Haven. I was an usher at the Schubert Theater back in the 80s.
Going back to a Pint of Comics episode that I actually curated one night
Yes.
when a guest failed to show up.
Yeah.
I played the entire Edgar Winter's White Trash
Did you
album.
really? Oh, all right. There. He's no longer with us, sir.
No,
He's
no,
gone
no.
to the-
Johnny's gone.
Johnny's gone. One of them's gone.
Johnny died a few years ago. And,
Yeah,
and
he's gone
Edgar I think is still fine,
Yeah,
as fine as you can get.
as you could be. being an
after
albino
all the
guitar.
things that they did in the 70s.
I know, right? Dude had tattoos all over him. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
I'd be careful with that skin
Right.
because it's not.
Very talented guys though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I love White Trash. It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good stuff.
Again, going back to,
Talk about roundabout time.
I was just like, wow, this is something. Have the meds kicked in yet? But this, you know,
Only on Pint of Comics.
oh, Greg Holcomb's out there listening to every word we
Yep.
say. Hello, Greg.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, buddy.
Celebrating Veterans Day on Pint of Comics, where we're supposed to be talking about those great veterans of comics and cartoonists and whatever else we come up with at any given
Well, no,
point.
you want to bring up a point that all those comic books that we read in the 60s and early, well, maybe 60s, not the 70s so much, but they were all World War II veterans.
Yeah.
So the mentality of that, are those boomers? Or the boomers are after World
Boomers
War
are
II?
the 50s guys.
Yeah, 50s. So I'm
50s
saying
kids.
they're the Depression area kids.
Yeah.
So they all the values that you read in all those comics, that
Yeah.
that kind of like John Wayne type of thing, like we're not going to take this, we're going to kick butt and ask questions later. That comes through all the books, but yet Stan Lee, very pacifist. In the writings he did, peace, love, war, and understanding. Peace, love, and understanding.
I think he knew who he was selling to.
He was selling to the counterculture
Yeah.
audience.
He was
But
smart.
He was smart, but you got to say a lot
Plus
of
he had
those
to fight
guys.
Martin Goodman, so
Yeah, but a lot of those other guys were, hardcore, staunch hawks, not like doves.
speaking of
Yeah.
Robert Kanigher.
There we go. Now we're going to go into that.
Yeah. Bob Kanigher took over the Wonder Woman comic after Marston,
Yes.
William Moulton Marston, had passed on. And
Well, they took him off the book before he passed away.
did they?
Yeah, they did.
What?
There was a lot of, people were objecting to some of the storylines and the bondage in the book. So, yeah.
What bondage?
I don't know. So I hear.
I'll get Christy Marston on the phone.
She's right up the street. They're buried right up the road from my house over in Bethel, Connecticut.
Yeah. So Bob Kanigher was a little bit more male forward than
Okay.
I would. Yeah,
I don't know what that means. Did he walk in the room thrusting his penis towards you? What do you mean, male
probably,
forward?
but
Okay.
But no, I mean I'm
Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Kanigher, and this is my genitalia.
wow.
You like that?
I'm sure there might be somebody out there that's listening to the show and going, I remember that.
I remember that. Hello. I'll talk like this now. So Bob Kanigher and his
Depending on who-
bulging pants.
Depending on who you talk to, Bob
Yes.
was very aggressive or
In what way? I'm asking, like, what way?
very aggressive.
Like, he wouldn't take any crap? Was he like Charlton Heston?
I don't want to say misogynist, but
Oh, say that. I didn't see where you're going. I didn't know.
I didn't want to say that, but
But we're talking the 60s, though.
or even earlier.
Oh, I mean, that's the culture of the time
Yeah.
wasn't prevalent to like, hey, let's be more liberal about these
But
things.
other people will tell you that how much they love the guy too. So there's.
Everything's hearsay, John.
I know.
I've heard stuff about you that would curl your ear here.
Probably not.
So anyway, go back to Bob Kanigher.
Yeah, we're,
what was he doing?
Where was I going?
He
Bob
was
Kanigher?
drinking martinis and
Bob
drawing
Kanigher,
comics.
He was primarily known for editing all the DC war titles, and then eventually some of the
Like the
horror
Unknown
books.
Soldier, the Haunted Tank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all that. What was it?
Phantom.
Our Army at War.
Our Army at War,
Yeah.
Enemy Ace.
Enemy Ace.
Yeah, baby.
Enemy Ace, which World War One.
Right?
So
Yeah.
it's and that was Joe Kubert doing the art.
That's right, Joe Kubert. Yeah.
Love that stuff.
Yeah.
Love Joe Kubert.
So what about Bob Kanigher? You got me on the edge of
Well,
my seat.
now I don't know what the hell.
He was an editor of these war comics,
Yeah.
but what? He was a veteran of the World War II?
Yes,
Okay.
quite a bit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Then what happened?
Well,
Tell me
eventually
more,
he
tell
died.
me. Well, eventually we all do.
Yeah.
Sad to say.
Eventually
but
he
yeah.
died.
Newsflash. We're just passing time to the great unknown.
I'm trying to remember when he faded out at DC. I'm sure it was during the 80s.
I've heard his name more, so yeah, I think he was around.
He was there
He's
for a
old
long
school.
time.
Yeah.
And how it usually worked at DC, you kind of worked your way up through the ranks. Look at Paul Levitz.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about getting to the top.
Yeah. President of the company.
Yeah,
President of DC Comics, yeah.
yeah, it was pretty crazy. And that's a
Started
guy
off
that
as a
started when he
fan
was
guy.
17.
Yeah, he and Paul Kupperberg were over there doing fanzines. I
Yeah.
think it was the Comics Reader, if I'm not
Oh
mistaken.
boy.
And then it just, got a job writing, editing,
Sure.
moved up the ladder, and next thing you know, he's the president of the company.
And that's how it happened with a lot of these guys, especially
Yeah.
in the vets from World War II coming back and trying to squeeze their way back into a market that
Mm-hmm.
so it was just crazy back then. There was a lot of stuff to publish at one
Mhm.
point. A lot of stuff that was being published,
Right.
but you had so many people out fighting and then when you'd come back, I mean, if you look at some of the history of these characters, these creators, who didn't come back. That's paused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got some examples?
I don't, because
they didn't come back.
They didn't come back.
Jeez, man.
That's a Memorial Day, man.
I was gonna say we're talking Veterans Day here, buddy. Veterans Day.
Yeah. So the vets would come back. They'd fill the shoes of the people that weren't able to come back, or didn't come back, or moved on to other jobs.
Yeah.
You know, they may have gotten out of art and just went into manufacturing.
A lot of the artists nowadays, I go to look them up to become guests for Terrificon, only to find out they gave up doing comics and moved on to advertising or real estate or or storyboarding for Hollywood pictures, and something that paid a lot more.
Yeah. Look at the cartoonists at the time. Same period.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at Mort Walker.
Yeah, Beetle Bailey. Yeah.
Bill Mauldin, who did all the World War II one-panel
Milton
strips.
Caniff was.
Yeah.
Terry the Pirates guy. He was out. Everybody was in the service.
Charles Schultz.
Yeah.
Charles Schultz was.
I don't think they had a choice. Like I said, I think they were either drafted
you were
or
drafted.
volunteered.
I mean, after Pearl Harbor,
right?
Look at the volunteerism.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
That's what happens when you get attacked.
Yeah. So sad.
What?
All right.
You know what I think we should do? Once you take
we're closing in on 7.
No. Once you take your break for your PSAs, why don't we come back and talk about fictitious heroes in the comics that were veterans? We could do Sergeant Rock. We could do.
Well, you're going to talk about it now, or am I going to take the break?
Well, go ahead. Take your break, buddy, and we'll regroup and come back to Pino Comics Salute to Veterans, or whatever this is.
Or whatever this is. Nice job. Very nice job.
We're a professional.
Yeah, we're a professional. This is your
I said
favorite.
I am.
This one's your favorite.
Oh, is it?
Hi, I'm Harry Anderson. For a good, uncomplicated way to exercise, take a walk. At any age, walking is one of the best ways to keep your heart fit and your joints limber, without the injuries that jogging or some aerobics can cause. Ask your shoe salesman for a shoe that's designed for walking. And ask your doctor to help you plan an exercise walking program that's right for you. Soon, you'll be on the road to better health.
A message from the Will Rogers Institute, wrinstitute.org.
This is comic artist Rod Wiggum advising you, warning you, for God's sakes, don't listen to Pine of Comics.
Your mom had an accident. I'll take you to her. Uh-oh.
Look, Wild Bill.
Who was that?
Some stranger. He said Donnie's mom was hurt. I didn't know if I should go with him.
Well, just don't do what a stranger says. Check it out with an adult you know. Remember, a stranger
can mean danger. Now I know.
And knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe!
Hello, my name is Eloise Tencher, and I host International Music Hour every first, third, and fifth Sunday of the month from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. I feature classic and contemporary world music as well as 60s, folk, country, and rock and roll. If you enjoy this kind of music, then this is a show for you, right here at WESU 88.1 FM, Middletown.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Welcome back to Pine of Comics. This is Sir Jon with special guest host,
King of the Nerds, Mitch Hallock from Terrificon and Connecticut GamerCon at Mohegan Sun.
We're totally ruining Veterans Day by misremembering
important facts of who served and who didn't serve. Yeah. Herb Trimpe, Air Force, chaplain, no less.
Really?
Yes, conducted religious services at 9/11.
Herb Trimpe, known best for
Hulk, Shogun Warriors, Godzilla. Did a lot of the 80s toys.
Known best for Shogun Warriors. I wouldn't put that on his
because when
resume.
I was a kid, I remember reading him in the 80s, and he was doing all the all the toy tie-in books like Shogun Warriors, G.I. Joe, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think
do that?
did he do G.I. Joe?
Along with another
Well,
veteran,
Larry Hama.
Larry Hama,
Yeah.
who was in the Army
Right.
and also
In Vietnam.
on MASH.
Was he really?
Yeah, he was character actor. He was on a couple episodes of MASH. He was on Saturday Night Live. He had a different career as well.
He is a character.
Larry Hama,
Yeah.
who was the man behind most of the G.I. Joe characters. Like Hasbro would make the figures and they'd bring them to Marvel, and then Larry would come up with the backstory. Like Snake Eyes.
I'm not allowed to talk about G.I. Joe because
Ganache.
both Ganache and I kind of ruin our remembrances of G.I. Joe. We have G.I. Gary, one of our other members, who's the true G.I. Joe fan.
Oh, see,
he's probably listening right now. Going, I know.
No, I played with the big G.I. Joes when I was in the 70s. I had the big 11-inch ones.
Yeah, he's talking
I didn't do the 3 3/4. Those were like, yeah, right. What is that? 3 3/4. Yeah. That's because you know where that comes from. The guy from Kenner that was this big. He just took his forefinger and his thumb and said, "Make them about this big," and they measured it, and it was 3 3/4. Star Wars figures came off that dimension as well. So anyway, you were about to say something. I rudely interrupted you.
I was going to play a quick PSA that you can listen to while we're doing this.
Speaking of G.I. Joe.
Not quite, but it's one I played before we came on the air. I'm going to play it again.
Okay, let's hear
it. And
this
this kind of ties into this whole thing.
Sure, if you say so.
We are the Hero Initiative. Hero Initiative is the charity that helps comic book creators in medical or financial need. Superhero movies are often billion-dollar blockbusters, but many of the writers and artists who developed the characters see little or no money from that. Hero Initiative helps many of these older creators with their medical and financial needs. And now you can be the hero too. Find out how you can donate and volunteer at heroinitiative.org.
And a lot of these guys are vets.
Yeah. Not more a worthy cause you will find out there than the Hero Initiative. That is a fantastic organization.
Definitely is.
You'll see them at the shows at like New York Comic Con, Terrificon. You'll see a white bucket with a green label that says Hero Initiative on many of the creators' tables. And in lieu of money for their autographs or sketches or whatever, they'll say, could you donate to the Hero Initiative? And then they pass it on because they've helped guys with medical needs, like they say in the commercial, and housing.
Yes.
Some of these guys, I mean, there's no insurance for a lot of these folks. And
they're freelance creators, so they get
their
no
job.
residuals.
That's it,
You know, if they were lucky enough in a contract.
And
to get
God
some
forbid they hurt their hand or something like that, and they were no longer able to draw.
Not all these guys were superstars like George Perez. So.
No.
I mean, speaking of Herb Trimpe,
yes, sir.
Towards the end of his living days, he had written a very scathing piece, I think, for the New Yorker magazine.
Yeah, I remember that.
About
how
ageism.
he was trying to find work. Yeah. They just said, we don't have anything here for you, Herb. That's it.
Yeah.
And he'd been a company guy for about 30, 40 years. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Things happened back then.
It still happens.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it still happens. A lot of these guys that I grew up with, and I hate to say grew up with because I was really getting into comics later, towards the end of my teens there.
Yeah.
But these guys are still capable of
relevant.
Yeah, they're still relevant.
Actually, you know, that's funny. Ordway and I, Jerry Ordway, we got together years ago and came up with a story. We called it the Second Chance Squad. And it was all about getting together all these 70s and 80s creators and have them come out and do an anthology book about like retro heroes, you know what I mean? Like the villains of, you know how, did you ever hear how the space shuttle, after all those years it was in service, there would be parts on it that they couldn't get again because the companies that manufactured those parts were no longer in existence?
Sure.
So they were, working on old technology, don't break that filter because the company that made that, they're gone.
And they can't remake
it. So the whole storyline we came up for Second Chance Squad was a villain from long ago comes back and uses his antiquated weaponry to take over the world, and the modern heroes have no clue on how to defeat the guy because no one knows how to operate an analog type of device, so they have to go round up the old heroes. And the whole idea was each one of the issues would be written and drawn by veteran comic book creators that no longer work in modern comics because they consider their work passé or they're just not in vogue. So we had this whole thing about wouldn't it be great if you had, John Byrne drawing this one, and then so and so did this one and whatever. So anyway, that was the Second Chance Squad. Yeah, I like Byrne. I'm just obsessed that way.
That's nothing wrong with Byrne. It's just
I love John Byrne.
I would imagine that he could get a job anywhere he wants.
He probably could, but I'm just saying that. I mean, he was the, swear. He was the
Don't swear.
He was the deal. He was the main man in
Yeah.
the early '80s.
Well, I mean,
he was it.
Between everything he did at Marvel from
Yeah.
Fantastic Four
Yeah.
and X-Men,
And then DC.
and then DC with the Man of Steel series, which I think
They're collecting that in an omnibus next July.
I really like it.
Yeah,
I
I always
like
thought
the
he did a great job
redesign.
with it,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was really nice stuff.
Yeah.
It revamped Superman for
Mhm.
modern day audience.
days. Yeah, made him interesting again.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I would never read a Superman comic, and I was like, what? No,
Yeah,
that's like old.
The most I would do would be the DC Presents because it was a
Yeah.
team up.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
You get
Like
that
their
kind of
Marvel
thing.
team up type of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Justice League, but he was never in the. By the time I was reading it, the Justice League
It was
like
the Detroit Justice League.
yeah.
No, it was. It was Gypsy
Aquaman
and Metamorpho, all that stuff.
or Steel.
I used to read World War II comics as a kid. You know why? Because they were cheap. Like you'd go to get your back issue bin. And
yeah,
it might be $1 or $2 to get an old Fantastic Four, but for $2 you can get 20 issues of Sergeant Fury.
Yeah,
And that was drawn by the great John Severin and Dick Ayers.
John Severin was an awesome artist.
Oh yeah, he went on to do like Crack Magazine. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people knew him for those like what do you want to call it? Those
What, the parody stuff?
parody
Yeah.
stuff. But I remember him as Sergeant Fury artist,
I-
and Western comics
Western
as well.
comics.
Yeah. John Severin and
Right-
Mary
Right up to the day he passed.
or Marie.
too.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
John was doing those Western comics for
Yeah.
Desperado.
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
imprint Desperado.
I
And
could close my eyes. I could picture a John Severin face. He
Yeah.
had a unique way, like the eyebrows
Yeah.
would be up and the eyes zoink, almost like that.
I met him a couple times.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Once up at the late lamented Words and Pictures Museum up in Northampton.
Oh yeah, I always heard about that. That was
that's
Laird's
fantastic.
thing, right?
Yeah,
The Laird's
yeah.
Museum. Yeah.
Before he ran into the ground.
I know, but no,
yeah, it was
everybody
great.
remembers that place fondly
Oh, it was fantastic.
for what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something else. But yeah, Severin was quite the character. That's where I met Joe Kubert too.
Oh, did you know?
Met him up there, and let me tell you, Joe Kubert
Yeah.
was your epitome of the World War II vet.
Yeah.
You know, he had the beard going.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Shook my hand,
Yeah.
and it just like was
It
fully
broke it.
muscle
Yeah, yeah,
corded
oh, yeah.
with the tattoos on the forearms.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My
And-
grandfather had those. Yeah.
Yeah, he had an anchor on one, and
Yeah,
I think
yeah. How you doing,
what
buddy?
might have been a naked woman on the other. I
Yeah,
couldn't
my
really
grandfather
tell.
had a battleship across his chest, this beautiful woman on his arm. I assume it was like, I don't know who.
You
like
couldn't tell.
Rosita. By that time, it had
It's
been
all
all blurry and old
blurry,
and hair on it. And then he had a big anchor. But my grandfather was in the Merchant Marines, which were
Oh.
AKA pirates.
Yeah.
Because they'd go work for anybody for the
Yeah.
right money. It's like, what do you want us to haul?
Oy.
Give us some money. Hired.
Those guys are tough, though.
Yeah, and then he grew up with Ernest Borgnine,
Oh.
my other grandfather, in Hamden, Connecticut, on Olivia Street. And Borgnine left, and he also joined the service. I think he was a Merchant Marine as well.
Borgnine.
He was McHale's Navy, but that's another story.
There's
but
a character
back
right
the
there.
real. He was a great guy, Ernest Borgnine. Passed away.
Weren't
now.
you with me the day I did the Ethel Merman
Oh
retrospective?
yeah, I was there.
And we were talking.
No business,
Yeah.
like show business.
And,
Yes.
and in her autobiography, there's
She
one.
was married to him for about 15 minutes.
and the chapter on Ernest Borgnine is a blank page.
Yeah. How could you forget Ernie?
Hi, I'm Cabby.
Oh, from what the hell was that? Escape from New York. Yeah. Ox Baker, baby.
Yeah.
No, but anyway, I was saying Sergeant Fury was a great book. You'd read that, and then there was Captain Savage and his Leatherneck Raiders. That was the Pacific, because Sergeant Fury took place on the Eastern Front, so he was fighting the Nazis.
Uh-huh.
And then they came up with another book called Captain Savage and his Leatherneck Raiders by John Severin, and it was all about.
It was a Marvel book.
It was a Marvel book about World War II action in the Pacific.
I have no memory of this.
Well, that book is also the very first issues where Hydra got created. No one knows that. Issues 3, 4, and 5. Baron Strucker's in it, and the origins of Hydra are in that book, as Ed McMahon would say. Everything you wanted to know about Hydra is in Captain Savage.
Well, the thing is,
3,
too,
4, and 5.
with both Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos from Marvel.
Yep.
And then
Sergeant
Sergeant
Rock,
Rock,
DC, who
for
dies
DC,
when the
yeah.
last bullet at World War
Yeah.
II is fired. That's how Sergeant Rock dies. That's freaking
But
great. man.
both their teams had this very eclectic group of,
Oh, yeah,
of you could say stereotypes in
Well,
some
still,
ways.
I mean, in Sergeant Fury, you had the first black soldier before it was integrated because there was no integration in World War II.
Yep.
But you had Gabe Jones.
Yep.
He was in there. And you had Pinky Pinkerton, who was their English character, who years later they revealed was homosexual.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so who knew back then? So you had him, you had Junior Juniper, you had Dino Manelli, who was basically Dean Martin. You had Izzy Cohen, who was that quick-thinking Jewish guy from Brooklyn, you know?
Of course.
Yeah, you had to have him.
And Dum Dum Dugan.
And then you had Rebel, who was the Southern boy with the hat.
That I don't remember.
You don't remember him?
No.
He was the blonde here, Reb.
Did he get shot, killed?
No, Junior Juniper got killed.
Okay.
Yeah, he was.
I know.
I can't wait to make it home to see my Peggy Sue because I'm gonna get married.
It seemed like
no!
in Sergeant Rock,
And then
they
Dum
lost
Dum
more
Dugan.
people. Yeah, Dum Dum Dugan with the
With
bowler.
he
and
was a strongman in the
Yeah.
circus. That's why he wore that outfit, that striped shirt.
that mustache.
Yes, he was great. He was actually one of the cooler things in the Captain America movie. I was like, oh look, it's Dum Dum Dugan.
Neil McDonough.
Neil McDonough from Star Trek.
Oh, he's been in everything.
He was Ensign Hawk in Star Trek First Contact.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that one.
He's been in everything. You're right. He's on the Arrow. He was the bad guy,
he was
Damien
on Arrow.
Dark.
He was in Justified first season.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Right. Been around a long time.
Yeah. He's an interesting guy.
He is. He's from Massachusetts, no less.
Is he?
Yeah.
Apparently,
I know this because I was going to book him for a Terrific Con 2 years ago.
Yeah,
But he was working up on one of the Arrow shows. No, Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh.
And we couldn't get him because of this work schedule. Maybe this year because those shows are going off the air. So
That show should
Neil
go off the
McDonough,
air.
Legends of Tomorrow. Not a fan, are you?
No. I've watched grass grow, and it would be more interesting than anything.
No, you know
on
what's
that
interesting
program.
about Sergeant Fury? Then they brought him back to modern day times, and do you know who came up with the story that made it possible for Sergeant Fury to be running around? It's still youthful.
Was that Steranko?
No, he did Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
It was Howard Chaykin and Jim Starlin in a book, I think it was Marvel Spotlight, where they did Nick Fury was like a one shot, and he took something called the Infinity Formula, which preserved his aging process. He wasn't getting old. That's why Nick Fury was still a young guy when everybody else was older.
Right. Yeah, he would take it. Dugan took it too.
Dugan took it, and then they they said he was a LMD, which I don't believe at all. A life model decoy. The real Dugan died years ago.
I don't believe any.
You don't believe any of that stuff? None of it's real.
No, I stopped reading Marvel comics a long time ago.
No. Well, were there any other war comics? I know Charlton made their living on
Charlton
comics, submariners,
fighting Marine,
fighting everybody. Our boys
fighting
at war.
a warplane.
Yeah.
Fighting dogs of the army.
Fighting. Yeah, or anything. It's like put a war guy on it. Yeah.
The best horses in the army.
Yeah, absolutely.
Charlton printed anything they could.
Our army ants.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yo. It happened.
They did though. You could pick up a Charlton Ward title with the strangest name.
Yeah.
And then it would last maybe 3
The
issues.
Haunted Tank. I always loved that.
Haunted
That was something else. You know, Weird War Tales was a good one. Like,
Weird War Tales is fun.
You see a dinosaur going after a P-15 Mustang. You're like, what is that? We're somehow lost in time.
Start thinking about it. Actually, Sergeant Rock and Our Army at War ran through the 80s. Well, Our Army at War ended in early 80s.
Right.
And then Sergeant Rock ran almost until 1990.
Didn't he have some weird monster squad he was leading at one point, too? It was like a wolfman, a werewolf, a vampire.
Creature Commandos.
Yes. That was Sergeant Rock, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was Creature Commandos with Sergeant Rock.
I don't know if he was in. It was definitely in Weird War Tales.
Yeah. Then there was a Civil War character in one of those war anthology books. I'm trying to remember who it was. And I'm not thinking of that, the Funky Phantom. I'm not thinking about that stuff from the 70s.
I remember...
There was some type of like I keep picturing like a Civil War guy on a horse who was like maybe a ghost or something in DC books.
Wouldn't that be the Haunted Tank?
The Haunted Tank was a tank.
Yeah, but that was
it was haunted
Jeb
by
Stewart.
Yeah, okay, there it was. I'm sorry. It was Jeb Stewart. That's the guy.
J.E.B. Stewart.
Yeah. All right, sorry. I was off the
you are.
Hey, man.
Every one of us has to do it sometime.
I remember getting the annual Sergeant Fury fought in Vietnam. That was interesting.
How did that happen?
They had a reunion of the Howling Commandos, and somehow they got stuck in Laos, and there was an issue where they fought over there. Captain America was in it. He went overseas.
There you go. Captain America.
As we all know,
fighting Yank.
Dr. Manhattan ended the Vietnam War on Watchmen World.
Yeah.
Which is on tonight.
Is it?
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
Oh, yeah.
You
Very
like it?
good, actually.
Not sure what to make of it yet.
It's different. I'm trying to figure out how this has to do with the comic. I'm like, what? It's in that universe, but it's not
I had
verbatim.
I said my piece on it on the podcast the other night.
Did you?
But I'm not really sure what to make of it yet.
Let's just start. It's episode 3.
Yeah, I know.
So I think it's 10 episodes.
Something like that.
And then they're hoping probably for another season, so they're not going to give away the whole caboodle.
How many episodes is it?
10.
10.
Yeah.
Did you say that? There's
I just said 10, yeah.
You did 10 episodes?
Yeah, 10. Like Bo Derek, 10. 10. DH. Now, what other wars do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the Star Wars?
No.
Okay.
No. Not
all
at
right.
all.
No, not at all. Wow. Not even
Not
good.
at all.
No.
Not at all. Well, you know...
Well, The Mandalorian starts this week. That's what I was thinking about.
So while I was digging up some of the... that's probably the worst way to put it. But as I was looking into veterans that were comics creators...
Yeah.
Doug Murray. Doug Murray is the guy that was the creator of the Nam comic for Marvel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love that book. Michael Golden used to do all the covers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great comic.
So that was based on some of his own experiences, I guess, over there. And it went a little crazy towards the end, but...
That's when they had an issue where Captain
Punisher.
America and the Punisher were in those stories. Yeah.
Because flagging
in the
sales.
60s or 70s, yeah.
Yeah, it was too
Well,
bad.
the Punisher was in every book.
Right.
At that point. He was in
But
the
that-
Ewok comic.
I remember when that comic came out,
Oh, that was... I had the first couple issues. Yeah.
and it was a big deal because the only other real Vietnam comic book out based on true experiences was Vietnam War Journal.
I don't remember that.
That was from Apple Comics.
I don't remember.
It was an independent book.
Oh,
so.
okay.
And it was based on I should have looked that up before the show too. But based on his experiences over there, and that was really popular with some of the vets.
The EC books, I'm thinking of those right now.
Oh,
Blazing Battle Stories or whatever.
Yeah.
Those are fantastic. The artwork on those things.
Prior to the code.
Yeah. No, but the beautiful artwork on there. I can't even think of it. Kurtzman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kurtzman stuff, and those guys were all in
I mean,
the service, too.
honestly, they glorify war. Make
Do
it
they?
look like an adventure.
Well,
When it's not really.
no,
No, it's not. All rules of civility and morals are out the window in a war zone.
there are no winners in war.
There's no one around. It's everybody for themselves, man. It's just chaotic and destructive. And what is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
You know, I was gonna
say it again.
If I had time tonight before I got here, I would have.
I have it on
I would have played
I have it on my iPhone.
Sergeant Barry Sadler.
I had Springsteen singing War.
No, I had the
Real
Ballad-
Deal?
Ballad of the Green Berets.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a great song.
Yeah, I just didn't have time.
What happened to that guy? He had a #1 hit.
Yeah. I
That
don't
was
know.
it, though. I was one and done.
Yeah, that happens.
Is that they used that in the movies, didn't they?
I don't know.
The John Wayne picture?
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, the Green Berets?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in forever.
See this? We're doing this for you. And he says that the sun sets in the east because they're on the opposite coast and they filmed it in Georgia, not in Vietnam.
Did they really?
Yeah. Yeah, it was done down south.
Well, wasn't it done during Vietnam?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
why would you film it over there?
George Lucas and those guys wanted to go over to Vietnam and film Apocalypse Now there.
George Lucas?
Was part of Francis Ford Coppola's group, yeah.
Oh, well, that explains a lot.
Well, they're all buddies, yeah. Coppola, Millis.
Of course they are.
Why not? And then they all get together and badmouth Marvel movies. Yeah, these kids and their Marvel movies.
Well,
what
should we? We have a couple of minutes left. Do you want to bring up the whole
Sure, go ahead,
Scorsese thing? You
Yeah.
know, Scorsese saying that Marvel movies are not cinematic and they're not.
He's
true
missing one
films.
key point. It's the audience that determines what's successful and what's popular. And if those Marvel movies weren't good or weren't making money, they wouldn't be making them.
I see his point, but again, I said this to somebody else. He sounded like a
cranky old man, like, get off my lawn.
He's butthurt over the fact that his films aren't getting the audience.
Yeah.
And
he's very two-faced because he's also a producer on the Joker movie that made $1 billion, and I'm sure he got a nice paycheck for
the fact that he has to try and explain himself is enough.
And then they're all jumping on the bandwagon. It's like Coppola's like, hey, I go, I'm sorry, is this coming from the guys who've made a gangster movie like 20 different times? The same story?
Probably.
I mean, think about it. You got your Goodfellas, you got your, what was the one he did in Boston? The one that had Whitey. Oh,
Whitey Bulger?
Yeah, but it was Yeah, Nicholson played Whitey Bulger. DiCaprio.
The Departed.
The Departed.
The Departed. Yeah.
No, I
didn't
think
like
he's
that movie.
just kind of trying to draw attention because he's got a new movie coming out called The Irishman, which is 3.5 hours long. That's in theaters right now, and it's on Netflix at the end of the month. Yeah. That's the only reason why Scorsese's making a big splash, because he's screaming, "Hey, look at me!"
Oh, I know.
It's pretty pathetic, actually.
No, I know. It's exactly what he should be
The movie
doing.
used to speak for itself, but now he's got to take cheap shots. It's like, hey.
That's because it's on Netflix, and Netflix isn't being recognized by the Academy.
No, that's because Spielberg is all against that. Because didn't one of them win an Academy Award last year, and he had a fit? Because he said TV is not movies, you can't give an award out. There was some film that ran on Netflix that they put in theater just for enough to get consideration, and it won the Best Picture, I think. And Spielberg had a fit about that.
I don't pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah, but that's what it was about, because he's like, hey, man, we're not going to give up the big theater money just because you want to sit home and watch it on your TV or your laptop.
Mark Mastal thinks we're really funny.
Does he now?
Yeah.
Well,
I think he's had too many beers.
No. Well, he's celebrating Veterans Day.
Veterans Day is tomorrow. Please go out.
November 11th.
Yeah.
Why? Do you know the significance?
What is the significance?
11th month, 11th day, 11th hours when they signed the treaty to end World War I at Versailles.
There you go.
I've been there.
There's your history lesson for tonight.
There. Uncle Mitch, he tells you all about it, which also was the catalyst to start World War II.
Please thank a veteran tomorrow, today,
Absolutely.
any day of the week.
Any day of the week, for goodness sakes.
Definitely any day of the week.
Because landlubbers like you and I never joined the service.
No, I
we
did
not. No.
You
didn't even register for the selective service.
I did. It took a while.
Pinko.
They forced me to.
I did. I was happy.
All my uncles and aunts served in World War II, or
mine.
served in the service anyway. Not in World War II, but the majority of them did.
Yeah.
So,
and the rest.
But not my dad.
No.
4F.
Oh, was he now?
Yeah.
Really?
Flat feet and a heart murmur.
Yeah.
Booted him out.
And the other ones ran to Canada.
No. I had an uncle that was in both WW2 and Korea.
Couldn't get enough, eh?
I don't think the Army or the Navy could get enough of them.
Hey, man.
Used them right up.
Did they? Did you ever go on some of those old battleships? Those things were made like monsters.
That they were.
Oh, the USS Massachusetts. I've been on that. It's over in Fall River. We used to take the kids. They had like Boy Scout sleepovers.
Fall River, Connecticut?
Fall River, Massachusetts. But the metal, I mean, it's the size of I don't know how to describe how they made those things.
Yeah, and now you hear about it like these sunken ships are being raided for their steel. Off
really?
Off the bottom of the ocean, yeah.
No way.
It's a real shame. Yeah.
There's scrap. There's getting sunken ships to get the metal?
Yeah.
Isn't there enough?
Well, no.
Really?
It's cheap and it's easy to do.
Oh, for goodness sakes. No.
Yeah, they're basically raiding war graves. It's a real
disgusting.
shame. Real shame.
Let's really go on a sour note there, John.
Sorry. Thank a vet.
Yeah, let's go back to that.
Thank
you for your service.
Thank you for your service. Even those in the service now, thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, this has been Pint of Comics. We can get out of here.
Wow.
Yeah, we got to get out of here.
Let's rock
we
on.
have 30 seconds left. Here comes Uncle John.
We'll sing
Dead Air is up next.
Why don't we sing a patriotic song?
I'm going to play something else here.
Are you?
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right, get out.
Is it going to make me salute?
Goodbye.
Bye.